So now I've covered the process of taking the frame metal from a giant sheet to this piece here, and that allows me to mount it to this fixture, and that's when they start actually taking shape. So let's mount up another fixture full of parts, and I will show you how the cutting process works. This is where I start actually getting into the really expensive specialized tools. Because to achieve this really reflective surface finish straight off of the machine is extremely complicated. Like, I have to get the spindle speed, which is how many RPMs the tool is spinning at, the depth that it's cutting through the part, the speed that it's feeding through the part. All of these have to be perfectly synced to the geometry of the tool, the number of cutting edges on the tool, the diameter of the tool. All of these things took a very long time. And this finish isn't actually the final finish. This is this still has to be hand polished on a buffing wheel, but it's pretty close. So let's have a look at how this is done. So we will begin the process with a 1/2 inch titanium coated carbide end mill. So as you can see, that it's a pretty slow process to achieve that really perfect surface finish, but that's kind of what I feel like, you know, sets my work apart is the really perfect surface finish. It almost creates like a prism effect in the reflection of light. So yeah, step outside where it's a little bit quieter. Anyway, that's a really long process to get through this, but I've managed to find a way to have consistency to the point where I'm not really ruining parts at this stage too much. I mean, I have really high standards, and as a result, it's easy to, you know, just feel like a part isn't good enough and then just scrap it. But for the most part, they come off of here and they're pretty much perfect. There's still the second side that has to be machined to have a matching surface finish. But that is done on the 4th fixture, which is where things get really, really complicated and the tools get super crazy tiny. Okay, so now that we've surfaced it and gave it that really beautiful finish, and then cut off the corners of the rectangular stock to give it this round form. Here we go. So now that we have this round shape, we have to cut these corners off of the edge. That's called a chamfer. So you can see right there how the light catches it. The corner has been cut off, and you can see the surface finish here as compared to the original finish on the metal, which is just rough, pitted titanium. So anyway, in order to do this, it takes a really specialized tool. Because in order to get it to look perfect on both sides, it needs to be done at the same time that it's clamped. So I have to go around, I have to cut off the corner, and then I need to go back behind the part and cut off the corner on the back side. And that's done with a very special tool called a back chamfer tool, for obvious reasons. So you can see it's pointed like that, so it just wraps around the outside, cutting it. So anyway, let's get to it. You can see how amazing this is, how it works. This was a really far along in the process of developing the actual flow of operations that I came to this tool. Most machinists don't ever use tools like these. They're very specialized. Most companies don't even make tools like this, but if you do find a use for it, it's extremely beneficial. Not only is it really accurate, but you're cutting both sides with one tool. So that's really good. It eliminates the need for a tool change, which is operator interaction. It just eats up time and makes multitasking more difficult. Anyway, let's move forward. So it's been a pretty long process getting the frames done. I've had quite a few things come up just with tools breaking and wearing out, a little bit of troubleshooting. One of the things with working on a prototyping machine is it breaks. I mean, this is, even though my CNC machine probably looks super high tech, it's actually not really. It's pretty much as cheap as you can get with a CNC machine. Anyway, as a result, things have moved kind of slowly, but now I'm moving on to parts using a lathe, which are the round parts, which are the pin and the bolt. So I've got multiple operations with that. I've been working on it already, but in order to one second. So in order to turn this rod of titanium into this pin is that's quite a few steps. So let's go ahead and get started and you guys can see how this works. Okay, so this is a bandsaw right here. This is what I use to cut these long pieces of titanium down into these pieces, which are the right size to actually put in the machine and cut down. So let's go ahead and cut some. Okay, so I'm actually using up the last of my titanium that is used for making pins. This is really my final batch of hooks that are planned. The titanium are going to be all gone. I'm not going to do those anymore. And the stainless steel hooks are, I'm basically stocking up to the point where I should be good for at least 6 months. At least filling most all orders. But anyway, let's move over to the lathe and I can show you how we cut that tapered shoulder on there that fits so perfectly on the needle. Okay, so in order to remove the burr that's produced by the bandsaw on the frame or on the pins, I hit it on the Scotch-Brite wheel to remove that burr. That way it slides into the collet freely. Alright, so here you can see the completed tapered pin. So I'll go ahead and remove this part, load up another one, and you can see the process. Okay, so now that I've taken the burr off, it slides in really easily into the collet. That holds it very securely. Since this is titanium and it requires a decent amount of cutting force, I'm going to go ahead and run this one without flood coolant just so you can see the part better and see how it works. But normally this would be blasted with a water-based lubricant.